Hi, I want to talk about a little bit of physics history and why it likely is something that has caused generations of confusion even amongst folks in the physics community. And it's Newton's third law. Now, Newton wrote his Principia and originally published it in 1687. And in the 1687 version, writing in New Latin, he wrote his third law saying, Actione contrarium semper and uqualem esse reactionem sive corporum duorum actiones in si mutuo semper esse equalis and in partes contrarias dirigi. Now, most people, even then, really didn't speak Latin, and being a professor, Newton kept a copy of his first edition of his book where he would go through and he would make notes for later editions. And the University of Cambridge Digital Library maintains a digital copy of Newton's personal copy of his first edition that shows tons of handwritten notes. And spending way too many hours in my office going through nearly all of those notes made it into either the second edition published in 1713 or the third edition published in 1723. But there's one scratch out in there that I've never seen make it into a later Latin edition that I could find either a text copy of or a scanned copy of, and that strike through occurred right here, where originally the word corporum was in lowercase, but then it was capitalized, basically saying that his third law really should be corporum duorum actiones in si mutuo. Mutual actions between two bodies are always equal and directed in opposite parts. Now, this jumble of a statement without the scratch out was translated into English by Andrew Mott for his brother Benjamin Mott, who published the first English edition of Newton's book in 1729, shortly after Isaac Newton died. And that got translated as, to every action, there is always opposed an equal reaction. And notice that action and reaction were capitalized by Mott, but Newton capitalized action only because it was the starting word of his sentence. Reaction was very much not capitalized, meaning it was probably not really meant to be a solid, proper, unique idea or thought. So then the colon, or the mutual actions of two bodies upon each other, are always equal and directed to contrary parts. Now, what this jumble has gotten passed down to over the years in physics books usually leads to something like, to every action there is always an equal and opposite reaction, or some variant of that. Now, some folks would argue too, even taking this statement here more directly, if you wanted a reflexive Latin argument, you could say that actions are themselves reactions, as a translation of that. But again, that strike through in the Cambridge copy of Newton's own copy of his textbook has that scratched out to focus on just this idea of mutual action between two bodies. So actions and reactions are really a framework that it might be time to let die to focus on what we really do when we use the third law. We use it to draw force diagrams, to say, when we're looking at forces, how is this interaction, this mutual action, acting on object 1, or how is it acting on object 2? And the rest of Law 3 in his textbook is all about examples, like if a horse is pulling on a stone, the stone is also pulling on the horse. So it's looking at this interaction, this mutual action between the horse and the stone, and saying that it's the same piece, the same mutual action, but when we view it from two different perspectives, from the perspective of the horse and the perspective of the stone, that force is in opposite directions. Thanks for watching.